Okay, we're gonna jump right into it because we probably could go 3 days on this topic, and so at least, yeah. And so real quick, I'm going to just do a quick intro. I'm Bart. This is Rafi and Gil. All of our details are in the program. You can look at that and get more details about that. As I was sitting here, as we were preparing, I decided, you know, I'm just going to open up ChatGPT on my phone and just get a quick outline of what we could do in 20 minutes. So I did that. We're not going to go with this because the last comment it made was, remember to allot some time for transitions between different sections. This outline assumes quite efficient use of time, which might be challenging to achieve in a live discussion format. So we're not going to do that. But instead, I want to start with a quote from Alvin Toffler, and then I'm going to kind of turn it over, and we're going to start talking a little bit about some of the use cases that everyone up here has been using generative AI for. So this quote says, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." So I think that's so important for what we're getting ready to talk about, because literally when we got the information that we were going to be presenting on this topic, we've changed what we've been talking about maybe 6 times. I mean, we met this morning and changed some things again. And we met backstage and said, maybe we ought to talk about that. So we're a few steps down the road from where all of you might be. And so just want to kind of start with that way. But let me just kind of first start, and let's just start a discussion. How are you guys using generative AI right now? So, Rafi?
Sure. Well, in our own practice, we've begun integrating into our workflow. We found that it's been a tremendously valuable tool in saving time. Like so many of you in this room, you know, it's so important to have an extra set of eyes on the content that we're putting out there. And we found ChatGPT, I found ChatGPT personally to be a really proficient editor, first and foremost, taking content that I've already produced and either asking for refinements, brevity, clarity around certain areas. That's one immediate use that we found to be beneficial. Also, in terms of the clients that we serve, I'll just give one quick, but I think indicative case usage, which is we recently worked with a small, well-known liberal arts school in Pennsylvania. They were rolling out a new messaging platform. And we were charged with taking the new messaging platform and integrating it into their website, making sure that it was reflected through their primary pages. And what we did is we took the keywords, the primary messages to be conveyed, we fed it as into the system, and had an iterative back and forth with different uses, different ways to most authentically articulate this new platform. So I'll give some more, but those are a couple of simple ones. Yeah.
Gil, how about
You had
you?
some great ones. I don't want to join. I think the most interesting thing I found was, apart from even when I'm alone, I'm not the smartest one, is that it is work smarter, not harder. It allows me to move faster a lot than ever before. It allows me to code faster, but I need to think before I act. So it's like about sitting and thinking what kind of questions I need to ask it, because it can change anything. And I'm having a conversation with an AI that I want to improve my day. So I'm thinking about like more fundamental questions that I need to handle with, and then I ask it. And it's great that you can challenge it back. Like, no, this is not good enough. I want a better solution. It also allows me to improve my day by offloading a lot of the tasks I really don't want to do. So pasting an email and saying, how do I say no to this respectfully? Or when someone annoys you, how do I send an FU email, sorry for that, sounding respectful, but no, it doesn't show that I'm annoyed enough. And you can tell it to do that. Or a student coming over, like, I have this email, but no one opens it. How do I improve the opening rate? And you just paste the email, say, improve opening rate. What are your suggestions for this? The idea that you can ask it anything is like mind-blowing. The idea it's conversational AI. It's someone there with you that, well, it's not the smartest one. It's really hardworking. Always give you responses. If you go to Bard, some crappy responses, sorry. But it will be there. But it will need what you know to put into it.
Yeah.
This is like where I was challenged with this all the time. Like I was teaching digital marketing tools to executives. And they were really concerned like that all these young people are coming in and going to take our job, and here AI will take our job. But one thing you see again and again, experience beats everything.
Yep.
Experience will allow you to ask the better questions to get the better solutions faster. Just allows you to work faster without a lot of the hassle that you used to deal with.
Yeah. I just want to ask a quick question out here. How many of you have used ChatGPT? Okay, that's what I was expecting. How many of you subscribe to
So that's
Plus?
how many did not.
Okay.
$20 a month.
Rest of you need to spend $20 a month to subscribe. That's where you're really going to learn how to do some things. And I'm just curious. I'm estimating I have saved 10 to 15 hours a week on my work based on using generative AI. Since November 30th is when it came out. It's what
I saved $5,000 the first day I used it.
You say 5,000?
I got an offer for programming something complex that I couldn't know how to, and I used chat to write the code for that, and handling huge files faster than I ever could in a day.
Yep. Yeah. How about you?
I would say on average at least 5 hours a week. I mean, it takes a lot of intellectual energy to sit down and write something that's cogent, that is expressing exactly what you want. Never mind if it's just a simple email, but for certain things it's important to have a second pair of eyes, a third pair of eyes. And I found ChatGPT to be a great thought partner in that sense. And just going back to your point about job security, and I think we can all admit that this is going to disrupt the jobs marketplace as we know it. When it came out in November, my business partner was encouraging me to check it out. I kind of just let the conversation slide peripherally, and then it was at the beginning of the year, and he was like, "Stop what you're doing and go check this out right now." And when I did, my first reaction was one of defensiveness. And like many of you here, I've dedicated my career to being able to synthesize large amounts of information and generate some sort of cogent response. And my positioning has continued to evolve. And what I've learned, what we've learned in our own practice, is that it is a tool. It's not the tool, but it is a tool to help elevate what we're doing, to help create efficiencies in what we're doing. And I will admit that I am learning from this tool, which I think is a humbling comment to make, but I'm just blown away at how quickly the technology itself is evolving.
Yeah.
I want to assert
Go ahead,
one
Jill.
thing, because like when we started, when you emailed me first, and I want to thank Mary Catherine for inviting me here. The first thing I said was, it should also be not about how chat and all these tools helps us improve, but about how it changed our product offering. And how do we convince students in a day that, and I've shown it in my class, like build a syllabus for this course, now create slides, now create assignments, now create transcript for the slides. And like in an age where you can dump anything in an AI and it will create a course for you on anything, how can we give a better experience? How can we justify higher education? And I think there are so many ways. As I said, experience and theory and understanding what questions to ask is a thing that you cannot ask chat like, what questions should I ask you? And this is the things that schools still do, and I think this is one of the things we should highlight.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. What you bring up there is the fact that a lot of you might have been hearing this idea of prompt engineering. It's all about the prompt, and that is true. And we don't have the time to get into how to structure the correct prompt, but
There's an add-on for that. It's a great add-on.
Yeah, exactly. I've talked to some people though. It's like, are you serious, Bart? This ChatGPT. I logged in. I asked it to do something. My third grader could have done a better job. The fact is that you have to learn how to actually engage with it and learn how to get out the best, because once you learn that, like Gil said, it can write code for you. It can do amazing things. I mean, just some of the use cases that we had written down together, the content drafts, ideation and creativity. I mean, I sat down during a Purdue basketball game back in February and started engaging with it. And when I was done at the end of the game, I had a 40-page Google document of all kinds of guerrilla tactic ideas for a certain segment of my clientele. And now I use that as kind of a starting doc when I bring on a new client to say, let's go through this and see what ideas that resonate with your school. I mean, I looked at half of them and I'm like, oh, I never even heard of that. That's kind of a cool idea. So those ideas are amazing. Editing and rewriting, administrative functions. I uploaded a job description at one of the schools and said, tell me what's wrong here. And it came back and it said, well, here's some of the things that are wrong, but by the way, this is a faith-based school and there's no mention of a faith statement in here. And that got through HR, it got through the person that hired me, and it got through me, and ChatGPT discovered that. So there's a lot of things like that. Personalizing comm flows is going to be something that happens where you can send a personal email to your 50,000 name list that you bought. Summaries and analysis, you record a video and have it reorganize everything that you had said into bullet points, into themes. I do that all the time when I review websites. Legal HR code review, and then we haven't even talked about imagery like Midjourney and things like that. We are available to talk more about that. I mean, you have 3 experts here that have been pretty deep, and we're more than willing to do that, but I also want to recognize that we don't have all the time in the world to do that. So a couple things that I think we wanted to do was to open it up a little bit more for some questions, because I think that's where, I mean, we could keep talking up here. But there might be
doing it all day.
Well, yeah, we've been doing it all day. Yep.
Consulting and working with other people on your team that are very resistant to these ideas.
Or your boss.
Yes.
My chair hasn't tried ChatGPT yet.
One of the primary concerns that I've heard from folks such as that have just predisposition against it, which is totally understandable, by the way, is about security and about compromising data and information. And my response to that would be that you can get to know it, you can experiment with it without necessarily disclosing really personal information, without uploading data from your CRM, or even giving it details that you find personal for whatever reason. I think that in the act alone of experimenting with it, similar to what I shared with you about my own process with it, it's my belief that your colleagues will identify a little bit more value in it. I think it takes engaging with it because, we as humans, we have a fear of the unknown, right? And there's all this hysteria around, it's going to be the start of the apocalypse. And, I heard a statistic that 10% of AI researchers think that there's a 50% or greater chance that this could lead to the demise of humanity. I believe that that is hysteria. I believe that at the end of the day, this is a tool that's going to free us up to conduct more meaningful tasks, to invest in areas that require more thoughtful time, more relationship building, eyeball-to-eyeball meetings, cultivation of strategy, et cetera. So my best piece of advice is just encourage them to try it, maybe go light on the info and the data that they're sharing.
Is that part of the issue?
That is part of the issue, but the other one is just not an understanding of how machine learning works and how the AIs are taught. And
So funny thing, we're doing research now on how AI literacy affects the likelihood of adoption of AI. And one of the things we're seeing that once you put them down with those systems, and don't try to explain too much, but let them work with it. Like for them, it's magic. But okay, it's magic that works. They can accept magic that works without understanding how. They drive their cars, they fly a plane, they understand that something happens there, but they can use the results. So you don't need to understand like the essence of it, but you need to understand how, okay, this is what we can do with this. And I think like working with them hand in hand, and they would help them use it. And one more thing is, it's like let them do something specific, like not general, it's like learning a language. Like learning with a dictionary won't help, you need someone to talk to. So once they use it to solve something on their own, they'll have this aha moment that will make it really exciting.
Yeah, there was another question over here, yeah, right there.
Thank you. I promise I don't have a question for every session. Or maybe I do. Thank you for sharing your perspective, and I'm probably one of a very small percent of people that has not used it. People around me have used it. But in my very long commute each workday, I saw a news story about lawyers that used it, and the information that they used or found to not be didn't exist. It's not so much it wasn't accurate, but it didn't exist. What mechanism, I hear a lot of confidence in it. So what mechanisms do you have in your use of this tool to verify accuracy?
It's a really good question. I think one of the greatest pitfalls of the tool is people that are just using it, cutting, copying, pasting. That is not what it's intended for. And I think that's where, they call it hallucinations, which is the term for misinformation on these tools. There's so many cringe-worthy examples of folks that are using it, just cutting and pasting exactly what it's spitting out.
Including the warning, like, I'm an AI, don't do this. In assignments, submitted to professors.
And I'm thinking of a school that had a shooting on campus. The PR team, many of you may have heard of this. Yes. They cut and pasted their response. Now, not only is that injurious to the school's reputation, it's also basically saying that the comms team is not really paying attention. And there's so many nuances to getting it right. So my best advice on this is that similar to working with an assistant, similar to working with a colleague, it's an iterative back and forth. And ultimately, no matter what it generates as a response, you need to be okay with it. It needs to resonate your own voice and perspective. I think that's really where the value and benefit is with it. There's a lot of ethical concerns around that, and rightfully so.
We said no ethics.
Oh, my bad.
I could do like
We
5
could go
hours
down a
only
whole
on
other
ethics.
road if we
Yeah.
went that way.
But I mean, to your point though, that's an ethical concern. So, it's about how you engage with it. It's about, I think, experimenting liberally and adopting judiciously.
And Gil, I think you mentioned earlier about, I've been getting to the point of asking it to actually cite any resources.
Yeah,
So,
Bing does that.
yeah, and Bing will do that as well. And so just making sure that you've got that, you can click on it. I've done that for a couple events that I've done where I needed a quote from a specific author that was, from this school, and I wanted this quote that reflected this, and they were able to do that. So that was helpful.
Yeah. So I highly recommend Bing on that, because
Yeah,
it will
Bing.
give you links for the sources, and
Yep.
it's super easy to use.
Yep. Okay, another one. Yeah, you've got your hand up. I'm sorry, I can't see.
Hi, and thank you so much for having this discussion. We're all reading and hearing so much. It's great to have a concentrated place where we can come and talk it through. So I'm here from Pratt Institute in New York, and I think it's important to talk a little bit to set the question that we're a college that graduates creative professionals in the art, architecture, liberal arts and sciences, design, so we have a lot of makers. And just thinking about in these conversations on the academic side, we're sitting on the communications and marketing side. So in our shop, when we're thinking about AI, we have to be mindful of how our academic partners think of it. So my question is, where does plagiarism end and IA begin?
That's a good question, and that's one we could probably talk about for another 2 hours, because none of the courts have figured that out yet. I mean, there was a knee-jerk reaction that talked about, I think, Mid-Journey images could not be copyrighted.
There's a great lawsuit now. I just recently published an article on Harvard Business Review on generative AI and all these IP rights problems. There's a big lawsuit of OpenAI versus, I forgot the name, Stack Exchange, I think, for their Copilot support. There's lots of problems. That the problem we find the most is that, like, the law is not fast enough to move after this. So I would highly recommend caution and not automatically adopting. But I've been playing with all those image generators, and sometimes it automatically puts even the watermarks that it stole from the art. So it's really, so first of all, using platforms that don't do that, like Bing will not use that in generative AI images, or so would DALL-E. They're built on the same source, but Stable Diffusion has been known to use images that were scraped anywhere. And being knowledgeable to that is the first step. Second, in text, it's much easier. Just don't copy and paste from chat. Yeah, don't do that. It's there to help you. And we see it like, I search like on social media, the AI warning, and it's shocking how many posts like you can see that people just copied and pasted, including the warning. And that's just like basic, like step one not to do, but write it in your own words. It will never be as smart as you, it will never have the experience you have. It's always will give like an 80%, 90%, but you need to take that to the 100.
I'd like to add to that. There's a quote that I've always appreciated before the advent of AI, which is, I think, by Oscar Wilde, "Creativity is merely undetected plagiarism." And while I know it's a very controversial quote, you know, if you look at the recent Ed Sheeran court case, for example, for those of you who followed that, I mean, there are a finite number of building blocks that artists have to use. I served as Director of Marketing, Communications, and Advancement at Maine College of Art and Design for 6 years. And I had lunch with my former colleague, the dean, the academic dean, and he was telling me that faculty are freaked out by this, and understandably so. But similar to, Gil, you in teaching your students, preparing them for this ever-changing world, and speaking to the quote that you opened up with, I believe that there will always be a need for artists. There will always be a need for creative storytellers. I think if there's one sentiment that everyone walks away from today knowing is that it takes the human spirit to really bring these tools alive and get the best use out of them. With that said, I think, Bart, you're right. It's a lot of unknown, and I think there's reason for concern. And hopefully we can identify the necessary legislative measures, the necessary safeguards to prevent as much as possible.
I don't know, law just came to social networks, so we're like, how old are they? So maybe 20 years from now we'll have a dialogue. It's good. Yes.
Yeah, other questions over here? And while this mic is being passed down, we'll be around if you have more questions throughout the couple days. Go ahead.
Hi. So obviously we're all here in higher ed, which means we're in the room with a lot of academics. And at my school, the word I hear a lot is intellectual vitality, protecting intellectual vitality, right? This fear that this technology is going to make students lazy, and what kind of education are we encouraging students to have when they're going to somewhere like Harvard and we're saying, get 90% of your information from this AI tool and only 10% of it is your brain? And I think that while I agree that a lot of people want to call everything like the end of times, like everything was always so scary, there are some things that we can point to, right? Like students don't learn cursive anymore. It's like a dead art, I'm always shocked that people don't know how to read analog clocks. Some people don't know how to read analog clocks anymore. So it is something that like, you have to use the tool, you have to know the tool to use it, right? So in a place of higher education and learning, as professionals, I think there is definitely room for us to use AI, but would we encourage our students to do it? And if we don't encourage our students to do it, then is there really a place for us to say, like, you can't do it, we're going to do it? And how would you suggest like navigating those conversations?
Sure. Gil, I know you made a comment.
Yeah, so it's a complex question. And I think as a business school professor, I have the easy life. I think some other areas would have more difficulty with this, because like in history, it would be very different than business. But I teach digital marketing. I teach all the advanced tools that are there. I force my students to use the latest stuff. And then when this comes, I cannot tell, oh, you cannot use this because it's inconvenient to me. What I need to teach them is to get value from a world that has this, because this is here. It's here to stay, and without teaching the students how to use it, we're doing them a disservice. So we need to work harder and to find ways to better educate our students. Again, focus on theory, focus on things that you won't have around you, focus on how to ask the better questions, not memorizing. Memorizing stuff is going to be worthless. I used to remember like thousands of phone numbers. I don't remember my own phone number now. Do I need that skill? That's a question. Do I need to know how to do cursive where I can 3D print a machine that will do cursive better than anyone? So the question is like, what do we need to teach people? And I think teaching them how to ask good questions, even if they need to submit the prompts they use or the thought process they used, is more interesting and more important to me. Again, as a business school professor, I have no idea what to do in history. But in places where memorizing stuff is less important than application, I think there's a huge benefit to this.
I'd like to just add on to that. First of all, I share that concern. And I think that there's an inevitable intellectual atrophy that will occur over time. And I think cursive is a great example, and there's others that we could cite. Yeah. With that said, when I think about within my own professional creative practice, the notion of saving time, for me right now, it means more time to spend with my family. It means more time to spend doing the things that I love, that bring me joy, that are going to advance whatever it is that I'm doing. So I think that is the big question mark right now, because I think there is an underbelly to it, inevitably. So I think ignoring that is a mistake. I think also burying our heads in the sand is also a mistake of equal proportion. I think it's so important that especially us as marketers, that are advancing the field of higher education, that we are aware of it, that we understand its capabilities and potential implications.
Okay. We've got 3 minutes left. I'm going to give each of us a chance to just final statement on what could everybody do leaving today.
Retire. Just retire. Yeah.
So what would you recommend this crowd do when they walk away?
So again, I want to go to my first point. The product has changed. I think that marketing, we need to think about what we're offering today. We were talking before, I think the importance of certificates is super important. People that went to the workforce as little as 2 years ago might be missing the skills that are added now, and like calling them back for training, or maybe even a subscription service of universities. Right. That will keep people updated in this ever-changing world. And again, this is a business school perspective. I know some others would have different looks, but I think it's very important to, more than how do I use this, to think about how this changed the environment I live in.
Great.
Yeah.
Rafi?
I'm going to go back to my earlier comment about experimenting liberally and adopting judiciously. I think that's really what it's about. Even yesterday, I learned about a new tool that Bart introduced me to. Today.
I learned today.
And it's incredible. It's the closest thing to a sentient conversation I've ever had. There's something slightly obtuse about some of the responses that ChatGPT can yield. So
it's very kind.
I think get to know it and familiarize yourself with it at the very least.
Yeah, I think those are both excellent points, and I would add to the fact of, if you listen to the podcast, I have a higher ed marketer podcast. We always leave with what is something you can do this afternoon, and one of the things would be try it out. Go ahead and keep playing with it. If you've played with it once and you've dismissed it, you need to get back in there and start understanding it. That's the only way you're going to learn how to do it. Photoshop just released this week their generative AI, where, it blew my mind when I saw the videos on that. So play with that. Have your team look at that. Play with Midjourney. Play with all these different tools, because it's not just ChatGPT. There's I think you said Futurepedia.
Futurepedia.io. Everyone, I highly recommend going there. It's an engine, it's an index that shows all the new AI tools. Latest I checked, more than 3,000 websites that offer AI solutions, Futurepedia.io. And it has now an AI-based search engine, so you can just ask the question you want instead of searching for the description of the website. And just start there. Yeah. Ask questions.
And also be ready. The world is going to change in the next 6 months.
Change already.
It is already. But search is going to look totally different as far as search engine optimization. You're going to have to learn something new. We have ChatGPT is going to be embedded in anything and everything that you know. So the faster that you know what's going on and how to use it, the better. I mean, it is going to be everywhere in a blink of the eye. The last time it felt like this to me was in 1994 when I first did my website, and I talked to schools about it, and they said, we would never need a website. Why would we want a website? That's where we are again. So
We started with a quote, so I want to end with a quote. It's my advisor's favorite quote from Alice in Wonderland. When Alice looks at everyone running in circles, and she asked the Red Queen about this, and the Queen said it's like, she said, like, in our world we run very fast or something like that, and the Queen said it's very stupid. Here you need to run very fast just to keep the same pace, and if you want to move somewhere, you need to run twice as fast as that. And this is the world you cannot afford. You'll stay behind, you'll have double the things to learn.
Yep. So thank you. We're around if you want to have any other questions. So
Thank you.